We are trying to predict some things that will happen in the upcoming season. I've got my good friend here, Andrew Mott, with me. Andrew, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Excited to, play some of this game today.
Look, I love games. I'm a nerd at heart. Like I love board games. I love game shows. I just love games. I do. So we incorporate that a little bit into Dynasty Nerds here. And today we're playing the Isaiah Likely-O-Meter. So if you've ever listened to the full podcast, you've probably heard us play this game before. But basically, this is how it works. I give a scenario. Andrew gives me a number based on how likely he thinks this is to happen. One being there is 0% chance that this happens. 10 being it's impossible for it not to happen. Somehow 5 is the middle, even though 5.5 should be. It doesn't really make sense, but we roll with it. And Andrew's allowed to pick the number from 1 to 10. So Andrew, you ready to go, man?
Yeah, I'm ready, man.
All right, let's start off with the very first one here. Over 1.5 rookie running backs finishing as a top 12 guy in 2025. What do you got for me?
Because it's
It's
running
tough.
backs, I can use a half point, right?
Yep, half back, half point. Yep.
I think I'm gonna go. I'm kind of on the fringe of like going to a whole number, but I'm gonna go 6.5. I'm gonna go 6.5,
Okay.
just a little bit over, the middle number there. And I think really the main reason I'm thinking about that is because there's two names specifically that I think can do it. It's gonna be Ashton Jeanty, who I think is pretty close to a lock for a top 12 finish as a rookie,
Yep.
and Omarion Hampton. Now, Omarion Hampton, the reason why I'm thinking he can do it is because we've had the Najee Harris scare. Obviously, yesterday
Right.
in training camp, we saw some photos come out where he's wearing a hoodie and some sunglasses and things like that, where it's like you can't see the face of Najee Harris. And it just kind of keeps adding to this feeling of, yeah, I thought Najee was going to be involved early on, but if he's not on the practice field here in training camp and Omarion Hampton's getting all of those snaps, that takeover that we did feel like Omarion Hampton was going to have in the back half of the year, it's probably going to happen sooner rather than later. And if he's in this offense that's run heavy, Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh, they want to get him a ton of touches. It's more likely than
You're
not,
good.
maybe that he ends up being a top 12 guy as a rookie. So I think Omarion Hampton would be my other guy there. I like Henderson. I like Harvey, some of these other guys, but can they do top 12 as a rookie? Probably not in the range of outcomes for me as far as projections.
Yeah, it was highly unlikely that he would anyway, but this number did get slightly dinged with the Judkins news, knowing that he's probably going to miss a few games. That was one of the dark horse candidates that could have done it. But you're right. It really mostly comes down to those two running backs. Can those two guys do it? I think you're maybe a tad more optimistic than I am, which is tough because I tend to be the optimistic guy. And I love Hampton. Like I think we're seeing 16, 17, 1800 rushing yard seasons at some point in his career. So I'm all in on this player, but it's just so hard to do as a rookie. So I kind of copped out a little bit. I picked a 5, true like 50-50. It could happen. It might not, but like it's right there for me. It's really, really close. But let's go to another position here. And so tight ends, we keep it tight, whole numbers only. So here's a name that's going to trigger some PTSD for some people.
Oh, gosh.
Kyle Pitts is back as a top 6 dynasty or just a tight end in 2025. He's a fun name because there's always strong opinions on Kyle Pitts. So where are you at with him returning to form and being a top 6 guy this season?
Two on Kyle Pitts. I don't think it's going to happen. This is a guy that I think probably could be 8, 9, 10-ish range, bounce back a little bit there. We had, again, I'm going to keep referring to these training camp buzz pieces because that's all the football that we have in our life right now. But you had Michael Penix yesterday say, like, you saw we got KP the ball. That's going to be happening a lot this year. I'll believe it when I see it, Penix. I'll believe it when I
Yeah.
see it because we've been hearing that for years. At the end of the day, like, I do think the top 3 is already pretty secure, assuming these guys have healthy years with McBride and Bowers and Kittle. Like, those guys are going to be taking up 50% of those top 6 rankings that you just asked for.
Yeah.
So there's only 3 spots left for Kyle Pitts. It's probably a 2 for me. It's not that likely for him.
Yeah, I only gave it a 3, so I guess I'm slightly more optimistic, but I'm really not. It's an uphill battle for him. It's too inconsistent. I need to see him even get to like 8 for me to like really feel confident that he could bump back into that range. And I think that is within reason. I just finished up my projections. I have him for this season ranked as the number 12 tight end for 2025. That's kind of where the numbers all shook out for me. So obviously he's not crazy far away where he couldn't do it, but we've played this game so many seasons in a row, and I'm willing to be wrong and bet on the more likely scenario for what we've seen over the past few seasons than risk it all and lose it again. So I'm at a 3.
And
So
I think too, like if you look at the pecking order in Atlanta, it's at best he's the third option. It's more likely, I think, that he's the fourth option. I think last year we saw Mooney get more targets than Pitts too. So like it's probably Bijan,
yeah,
London, Mooney all ahead of him, obviously in a different order than I just listed it. But I think those guys all get more
sure.
targets than him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're probably correct on that. Here's an interesting one. The starting quarterback of the 2026 season, the guy that takes the first snap in the first game in 2026 on the Colts at quarterback, is currently on their team. So the starting quarterback for the 26 season for the Colts is currently on the team. Where are you going to put that on the Isaiah Likely-o-meter?
10. It's the starting quarterback. Oh, for 2026, I went 2025 for a
2026.
second. Okay,
I
hold
was
on.
like,
I was like, yeah, they're
wow,
not.
you are really confident either Daniel Jones or
No,
Anthony
okay,
Richardson.
hold on, because I was like, yeah, the starting quarterback's on the team. The season starts in 4 weeks, dude. Like, they're not adding anybody. No, for 2026. Okay, here we go. Um, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 3. Like I think Daniel Jones probably plays more than Anthony Richardson this year. That's the way I've been projecting it. I do feel like that's going to be better for some of the fantasy football options than what A Rich has been for them. Probably just better for Pittman, better for Downs, even Tyler Warren now. Like maybe a little bit more efficient for a guy like even Jonathan Taylor. But at the end of the day, this is a team that I do believe is probably going to be one of the worst teams in football, playing probably more likely for a top 5 pick in next year's draft. And I just have this feeling that we could see a Manning in a Colts jersey again at some point in time. That would be
Ooh.
interesting, but maybe that's also me just like the nostalgia of seeing that Manning, Colts jersey. But I don't think that the quarterback's going to be on this team next year. I'd say a 3. If Daniel Jones balls out, maybe they give him like the short term, here's an extra 1 year, 2 year deal where you can come in and kind of fight for the job. But I don't think it's very likely.
We had almost the exact same score, but I utilized my quarter points on the quarterbacks here. I picked a 2.75 for this to happen. So very, very low probability. I like Daniel Jones, and I think that's the reason that it even has anything above a 1. At this point, I think we've seen what we need to see out of Anthony Richardson. I wouldn't be shocked if he has a game or two where it's like, oh man, is he back? But I just don't believe in him consistently. And then the injuries, and there's just so many things that can go wrong here for a guy like Anthony Richardson. Whereas Daniel Jones, I could see him being the next reclamation project. We've seen guys in the past like Ryan Tannehill come back out of nowhere. And then more recently, guys like Darnold and Baker and Geno and players like that. So it would not shock me because I do think he has enough talent. But is there going to be enough overall on this team for him to be able to do that? Seems unlikely to me, so I'm gonna go with a 2.75 on that one.
Yeah, I
All right,
don't
let's
disagree. I don't disagree. I think it's
yeah.
pretty low. It's not a 10 when I thought about 2025.
I was like, dang, I did not realize that you were so big on Richardson
No
or one
way,
of these
no
guys.
way.
All right. Let's go to this guy. CMC returns as a top 6 back this season. How confident are you in the San Francisco 49ers running back?
At the end of the day, it's gonna come down to health, and I think that's it. So I'm gonna go an 8.5 on Christian McCaffrey. I'm gonna go an 8.5. If I'm betting on CMC, it's not on talent. We've seen Christian McCaffrey be able to take the workload there in San Francisco, and they've been very vocal, I feel like, at times this offseason too, where they're saying, hey, look, he's back, he's healthy, and we're going to give him the workload again. Like, that's just the plan here. So will his body hold up? I hope so, because when he's on the football field, he's scoring a ton of fantasy football points for us. But yeah, I'm gonna go 8.5. It's just the bet on the health. That's the only thing that makes me a little bit nervous. It's never anything that Chris McCaffrey has done on the field.
Yeah, I feel almost the exact same way. I'm just slightly less confident in the health, so I ended up going with the 7 on this one.
Okay.
I totally agree with the analysis of the abilities there. I think he's healthy right now, and I think they're going to get him the ball enough. Like all of that, I think is true. We've just seen him, even at times, just not even the major injuries, but just nicked up, banged up. Maybe we only get a 12 game season out of him. He's getting older. So that's my only hesitation, but I'm still well above the 50-50 mark at a 7 here. I still think he's one of the most talented, even at his age, even after all the injuries. I still think he's one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. So I'm willing to be pretty high on this guy. I'm willing to say that I think he's going to do it. But I think you just have a little more confidence in the health than I do at this point.
Yeah, I think so, and I think a little bit of the reason behind that too is I was really digging into Christian McCaffrey's injury a while back, and supposedly his teammate George Kittle was dealing with a similar tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis type of deal not too long ago, and he went down to Panama and got some stem cell treatments and things like that, and supposedly he had referred Christian McCaffrey to that type of treatment, and it hasn't really bothered Kittle either. Now I know Kittle also kind of deals with some nagging small injuries here and there, but it does feel like he's kind of gotten the treatment or has at least gotten, what he's needed to do. So I don't know. Maybe I'm reading way too deep into the tea leaves. Maybe I shouldn't be researching like, where George Kittle is getting stem cell treatments in Panama, but it is what I was doing.
Dr.
And
Andrew.
there you go. And I am not a doctor, so just let that be known right there.
I love it. I love it. All right. Last one here. I tailored this one to you specifically. So I hope you're
Oh
ready.
gosh.
JJ McCarthy
10.
is a top 12 quarterback this season.
Top 12. Okay. I'm going
Do it. Do it.
7.75. 7.75.
Okay.
Kind of wanted to go into the eights there, but really it's not even just the fandom here. It's the fact that Kevin O'Connell has produced top 8 quarterbacks in fantasy football with damn near every quarterback that he's had under center there in Minnesota. Kirk Cousins, Joshua Dobbs, Nick Mullins, even Sam Darnold. He's had all of these guys be very, very fantasy football relevant. And that's because this offense has been so pass friendly. They pass the football so much. They're throwing for a lot of touchdowns. They play fast. And I think that's going to really contribute to the fantasy football points. You're going to have to decide whether or not you believe in JJ McCarthy as a player, but the scheme, the system, the talent around him is enough to elevate even guys that we have written off in the past that we've seen before. And I think it's enough that if he goes out there and plays in the system and does even what Darnold did last year, he's a top 12 guy because Darnold was a top 12 guy last year as well. So you got to also account there's probably going to be a couple injuries. There's always a couple injuries too, right? Like guys in front of him that maybe we
Mhm.
thought would don't hit it. So yeah, I'm going to go 7.75. Maybe a little bullish on JJ McCarthy. I get it.
No, I'm sure Rich Dotson's watching this, totally agreeing. I was a little more on the pessimistic side, and I knew this would probably be one of our biggest gaps in all of these. I went with 4.75. It's tough for any rookie to enter the top 12. Now we've been blessed. Last year we had a really good rookie quarterback class, and we saw some guys get in there, but it's really difficult to do that as a rookie. But you're right. The scheme in the system is foolproof. I mean, I shouldn't say foolproof, but pretty darn
So
close.
far, it's been
It's a
pretty
great.
close.
It's been pretty darn close. So I mean, they churn out top 12 type quarterbacks, but it's tough for a guy in his first year to be able to do that. But that being said, so right now I'm looking at my rankings. I have him projected right now, and this is going to sound very bearish, and I don't mean for it to. I have him right now as quarterback 18. That being said, he's just a shade over a point away from being inside that top 12. So I have a lot of
Oh,
guys that are kind of in that range. Guys like a Jared Goff would be inside that range. Guys like Jordan Love are in that range. Brock Purdy are in that range. Bo Nix, like all those kind of guys, right in that range of that. Could they be? Will they not? I'm really curious to see. You're right. Injuries do play a big part in this as well. We're going to probably lose a quarterback or two that would have been a top 12 guy, but just weren't able to because of injuries. So I am curious to see kind of how that back end shakes out. How do we see some of these year two quarterbacks? I know technically McCarthy's a year two quarterback, but his first year actually playing and starting. Curious to see how all that plays out. And even a guy like Cam Ward, I have him ranked fairly low for this season, but you never know. Some of these guys come out and surprise us. So should be a pretty fun season at the quarterback position to see how all of this stuff shakes out.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting too. And I think also like I don't know if you saw the ESPN article that came out the other day about like what the Vikings did during McCarthy's rookie year. Uh, spending time once a week with like undivided attention Kevin O'Connell in the building. He was doing the VR training where he was like going through progressions and reads and stuff like that virtually, even though he wasn't able to get on the football field. Like it's going to be interesting to see how all of that pays off for the Vikings, because you get the stories of, you know, Caleb Williams is begging the coach to look at the film with him. And then you got Kevin O'Connell who's like spending hours of his week with him and getting him the VR training and things like that. Like when you nurture that quarterback, how's that going to happen when he has never taken an NFL snap? I'm very interested to see.
All right. Well, that wraps up our Isaiah Likely-O-meter for the day. Andrew, your first time playing the game. How did it feel, man?
Felt good, aside for the fact that I almost gave a 10 to the Indianapolis Colts quarterback room.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out with us. Please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. It does really help us quite a bit. Really, really appreciate that. We literally have videos coming out daily, and we have more and more content planned for the season. It's going to be an amazing 2025 fantasy football season here at Dynasty Nerds. Hope you join us. We'll see you next time.